All right, so we are live. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Woodland Pools and to another Cardano Q&A live stream. So we've got a bunch of different things that we're going to go over today. We've got updates from 9 different projects that I want to go over with you all. So if you are joining us live, let us know where you're joining from and any questions that you have, and we'll get to those in between the different projects. If you're watching on the replay, I'm going to add in chapters. Perfect. I'm going to add in chapters so you can jump to the different projects. And then, as always, all the different links that I'll be showing will all be added to the description down below. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing that I wanted to cover was a really cool update from NMKR. So as you guys know, I'm a big fan of NMKR. We've been covering them on the channel for a while now. And they had this cool update that they put out about a new sort of time-based NFTs that they're coming out with. So let's take a look at this. I like this a lot. So real-world NFT use cases, time-based access to exclusive content or services. So here they're saying what we can do is you can take an NFT and you can utilize it to provide time-based access to exclusive content or services by encoding the access period within the NFT. So you can actually put it into the metadata when you mint the NFT. Creators or service providers can then grant temporary access to various digital assets or services to buyers or subscribers. So if you think about it, kind of like how we talked about a while back, how Tap Tools had their Tappy NFT and how that would give you access to their platform for a certain amount of time, 420 days from when you minted it. They may or may not have been doing something similar to this, where in the metadata, when you actually mint the NFT, you can put an arbitrary amount of information there. And one of the things you can do is put a timestamp. And then on the front end, you can then, when you're interacting with a wallet that has that NFT, you can, you can check block frost, check the timestamp. And then from there, you can do different kinds of things like, oh, okay, you can have access to this site or to this service for some amount of time. This includes time-limited access to exclusive music, videos, online courses, virtual events, or premium subscriptions like we were just talking about with the Tap Tools thing, giving a sense of exclusivity and scarcity to the buyers or subscribers. So so that was kind of cool, and I wanted to share this with you guys because I think it's important that as the ecosystem evolves and we all start seeing these different kinds of things coming out, that we really kind of broaden our perspective in terms of what NFTs are and what they can be used for, right? I think for a long time, we sort of conflated this notion of what an NFT was, and it was always sort of like a picture of a thing, but now we see that at its core, an NFT is truly only just a proof or a record of ownership of a thing. And then from there, you can put different kinds of information in there. And then it may or may not be attached to some kind of artwork or some kind of digital representation. But at its core, and this is something that Patrick from NMKR really helped me understand, at its core, it's just proof of ownership of a thing that you're holding on to. And so with something like this, we can see that if you were to mint one of these NFTs on NMKR, if you think about it, the NFT could just be a token that lives on chain, and the important thing about it is this time-limited timestamp that it has. It does not necessarily have to even have a visual representation. The important thing is you have this token, and it gives you access to a thing for some amount of time. In the case of like Tap Tools, for example, they chose to put like a little penguin, and people complained about the artwork, but I think that kind of misses the point. That you could have just had no artwork at all, and it could have just all of them been just the Tap Tools logo, and the important thing is the functionality the token represents. So I think that it'll be interesting as we move forward, not just in Cardano, but in the broader blockchain ecosystem, as we kind of start separating out these truly disparate ideas that we've kind of conflated for so long, and start seeing the different ways that you can use an NFT and not feeling like we're always obligated to have it, always need to have some artwork attached to it. And I think we'll be able to see some really cool stuff. So props to Patrick and NMKR, always coming out with new stuff, and I am always learning from Patrick and the NMKR team. Those guys are great. So just wanted to share this with you guys. A great example of another thing that NFTs can be used for. Zanji, what's going on, man? Daedalus 5.3 update hype. So I had not heard about this. So what's going on with Daedalus 5.3? Is there something cool about Daedalus? We're going to cover, oh, you know what? Dang, what I should have done is, okay, damn, I jumped right in. So let me do this. I did this backwards. Let me go over all the things we're going to talk about today. I did not hear about any updates about Daedalus, so let me know what I've missed there. Holy Macaroni, what's going on? Oh, hey, man, what's up, man? So Holy Macaroni actually runs the Epoch Sec. Do you pronounce it Epoch or Epic? The Epic Sec online Twitter handle, and he does a lot of security stuff, cybersecurity stuff, blockchain security, and so we're gonna try and catch up in person at the Rare Evo conference to see if we can chat about IT security stuff and sort of things that you all can do to make yourselves more secure. So cool, good to see you, holy macaroni. So let me do this. Like I said, I kind of did this a little bit backwards. Let's pause here and let's go over all the things we're going to look at today. So first thing we took a look at was this NMKR thing. Some feedback from people in the community about Hydra. I want to go over some Aiken stuff. A new project that just came across my radar, Token Allies. Some updates from Lace. Another new project, Xerberus, that I just heard about. Cardano Timelines is a really cool project. Some updates on World Mobile. And then, of course, the big Book.io ITO, which is happening later this week, that we've all been working like crazy. Everyone at Book has been working like crazy towards this ITO that's happening on Thursday morning. So that's all the things that we're going to go over. Chapters will be added. All these links will be added down below. Bit out of order, but let's keep going. Let's do a couple of other comments here. New Catalyst voting mechanism. Need to update to vote. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so, well, okay. I'm guessing that because Catalyst has a new voting mechanism, Daedalus didn't update to support that. So that makes sense. So if you're using Daedalus, that's good to know. Thank you, Zanji, for that info. If you're using Daedalus and you want to vote in Project Catalyst, you need to update your Daedalus version. So thank you for that. And this is actually the kind of thing, it's a... Zanji, you always help me out with the segues. So we'll come back to this in 1 second. So Epoch, you pronounce it Epoch. Okay, cool. Epoch Sec, very good. Yeah, so that'll be cool. Looking forward to chatting with you, Holy Macaroni, in person. And I think that'll be a really cool conversation because we talk about things like hardware wallets and all that stuff on the channel a lot. And I'd be really interested to pick your brain and get some information from you on things you think are important for everyone to look out for. Mark Byers, good morning. How is the future? Good to hear from you Tuesday morning in Australia. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining. You MVP most consistent person to join the live stream. Cool. So with that, so here Zanji, like I was saying, always tease me up with great transitions. Similar to how this had not been on my radar, that you need to update the latest version of Daedalus to be able to vote in the latest Project Catalyst. In the last live stream that we were doing, we had a really great back and forth conversation with a lot of people in the chat. And then what I thought was really cool was afterwards too, I took some like clips from the stream and I tweeted them out, and that generated a whole other round of conversations. And from there, I got some really good feedback from different people in the community with lots of follow-up things on the stuff that we had been talking about. So it was really cool how, we covered some of the stuff here, but then it kind of like continued evolving and the conversation kept going after that. So I love that. Let's try and see if we can keep that going. So there's a great way where, it can become sort of a back and forth thing, and it hits sort of a kind of resonance where we all keep learning from each other and sharing stuff that we come across. Because, I feel like I'm pretty tuned into what's going on in the community, but I'm only just one person. So the more that you guys also share that you come across, I think the better it'll be that we can all share with each other and keep learning. So with that, one of the things that somebody commented on when I tweeted out the clip from the Hydra conversation that we had last week that I wanted to share with you guys. For those that are interested in Hydra, they actually pointed out this really cool section of the Hydra Head protocol site. Let me move my head out of the way here. Move myself out of the way here. What? Let's go down to here. That's why I never really know where to put myself. Okay. So yeah. So here from the Hydra Head protocol site, there's this Topologies section I wanted to talk about with you guys. I thought it was pretty cool. So what we were talking about last week about how Hydra works is the basic configuration for a basic Hydra head. So here is the layer 1 Cardano network. These are all Hydra nodes. Each node inside of it has a Hydra head running the Hydra client. And then each of these, that actually they even kind of look like poker tables, is kind of like the poker table example that we were talking about last week. And we can see here that each of them is talking with the Cardano layer 1 blockchain. And they can also talk to each other because it's the same idea where they keep all the details of all their transactions inside of themselves, but they kind of just have aggregated conversations with external members, which can be the Cardano network or each other. But what I wanted to point out that this community member shared with me that I thought was cool is that there's also much more complex sort of aggregate versions of this. And I'm not going to dig into them because they do get really complex really quickly. But for example, a managed Hydra head, we can see here sort of a stacking of different, you have a Hydra node with multiple different Hydra heads inside of it, for example. So you've got, I think the way this works is that a single node is managing multiple Hydra heads. A delegated head, which I'm only going to try and get into this one. And then there's another one here, this star-shaped network. So I just wanted to point out that just like anything else, like when you're first getting into a programming language or even learning a new spoken language or anything like that, you've got your sort of entry-level concept, your high-level overarching concept of how it all comes together. And then from there, as you start getting more advanced, you can aggregate things and put them together and make all different kinds of cool configurations. And so for those of you that are interested in Hydra and want to dig into more detail, I just wanted to point this out because I thought it was a really cool piece of information shared from somebody in the community. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Tuesday is looking good. Glad to hear it, Mark. And looking forward to it, looking to pick my brain as well. Cool, man. Yeah, we'll trade off some stuff. I think it'll be a lot of fun. My favorite thing about going to these conferences is meeting people in person. And usually what I try and do is for interviews and things like that, you really kind of lose something when you do them remotely. So I try and that's part of why I go to all the different conferences, because I try and save up the conversations I want to have with people and then always do them in person. So yeah, so we'll definitely chat there and that'll be cool. Next thing, there was a tweet that came out there's another one that was actually in response to when I was tweeting out about how great Aiken was, or Aiken. I always say it wrong. I think it's Aiken. And I don't know why I always say Aiken. But in any case, a response to that tweet about Aiken, somebody was asking about, that's what it was. Somebody was asking about, okay, so that's great that Aiken is so cool, but when I go to their site, you know, they just have these few sort of tutorials here, which for me were great, right? You've got 3 different tutorials that kind of walk you through the functionality of the language and how to use it. This hello world, a vesting contract, and then a much more complex gift card one that has like a whole front-end UI and all of this stuff. But this one person was saying like, okay, that's cool, but if you're trying to really come up to speed and you don't have maybe a specific project to work on that you want to use Aiken for, are there any other examples somewhere that you can kind of see some more examples of how this is all put together? And I want to say that it was Lucas from Aiken is the one that shared this. It might have been K Torzia, Matthias, I can't remember. But in any case, they shared this, which is this awesome Aiken is an aggregate site that they're putting together for all these different projects that have been doing deep dives on Aiken, that have been doing examples and things. So here's the 3 examples we just looked at. But here is similar to the gift card example, but with Next.js. So if any of you guys are front-end web developers, you're very familiar with Next.js. Some tutorials on Maestro, and then some videos from people in the community covering Aiken. So for example, one of them is Andrew Westberg on Nerd Out. So you've probably heard me talking a lot on this channel about Andrew Westberg, an absolute legend in our ecosystem, really, really knows his stuff. And so here, for example, this was 6 months ago. He did a 10-minute video on Aiken and all about what it was going to be and stuff like that. So yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool, that if you want to learn more about Aiken, here is this whole one-stop shop, so to speak, of lots of different things you can look at to get some more examples of how that works. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, moving on. Next, this was a project I had not heard about, but this tweet came out from Ada Whale from Cardano Whale saying, in late 2021, before it was cool, I was doing modest early investments around Cardano to support builders in the early days, gems like Book.io and LenFi Official. Back then, I also invested in TA, throwing my support behind this, hoping we can collectively find and fund the next Book and LenFi. And what he was referring to is Token Allies. So Token Allies is a really cool concept. Their goal is to be a decentralized venture capital project. So if you think about it, with Project Catalyst, a lot of times people say, hey, if you have an idea and you want to get some funding, go do Project Catalyst. And to a certain extent, that kind of works, because with Project Catalyst, you can get some, get off the ground money, just some sort of just get started money to make your proof of concept. But Project Catalyst is not good for, and has never really been focused on, being sort of a replacement for that venture capital, where let's say, okay, you make that MVP and it looks good and people like it. You're never going to be able to use Project Catalyst to get $5 million or something, right? And so Token Allies focuses sort of on that next stage. So like if you've proven your thing out and you're at a stage where you would be seeking that infusion of cash to be able to grow from a venture capital company, Token Allies is trying to fill that void and try and say, okay, how can we do that in a decentralized way in Cardano? So here's their site, tokenallies.com. And we're going to come down to this minting section in a second. But here we go. So the problem with venture capitals: VC investment has been a great tool for rapid business growth, which is what we were just saying that Catalyst does not fill the need for. But due to its centralized structure, investors have no say about how their investments are managed. So their solution: they harness the power of blockchain technology to introduce a decentralized venture capital model, what they call a DVC. And then they are setting it all up in a DAO. So the idea is you can invest in early startups, and then with a unique blend of decentralized funding and blockchain technology, invest in promising high-growth companies. And then you can take real ownership of your investments and engage in active discussions and vote on how the funds are managed. So the project comes together with 3 different kinds of tokens. There's the Ally token that's minted for every investment. And so basically the way you think about it is, as the Token Allies project invests in different startups, there will be allied tokens for each one of those startups. And so for that is a voting power on each of those funds. Then separately, there's the decentralized venture capital token, and that is the DAO governance token, which is the voting power on the whole top level Token Allies DAO. And then individually, then there's going to be a fund investor NFT, which is an NFT for each investor in a funding round that kind of just like identifies you as the investor. So here's the team, some familiar faces from the Cardano ecosystem and their roadmap. A really interesting list of partners here, partnered with NMKR and TX Pipe. So TX Pipe is the team behind Aiken, Demeter Run, and several other things. So we talked about TX Pipe a lot. Really brilliant people there. So even I've not heard about Maze or Matera, but even here, like just these two being affiliated with them for me is already like so being affiliated with these two, NMKR, which is one of my favorite projects, TX Pipe, which is doing so many low-level infrastructure things that I think they're absolutely incredible. And then also backing from Cardano Whale, I think that these guys are off to a very good start, including some pretty well-known members of the Cardano ecosystem. So I think pretty cool what they are up to. So you can then, if you're interested in this, and it's not financial advice, I've not gotten any of these tokens yet. I might pick some up, but I've not done any yet. You can mint their decentralized venture capital token at a 50% discount right here on the page. And they're actually using, so if you go to mint, for example, let's say $500 for 10 DVC. Let's give that a second to load up. This pulls up, so this would cost you 1,600 ADA to do $500 worth. And this pulls up NMKR Pay, so that's part of their integration with NMKR. You can pay with your wallet or send manually, and there's several other wallets that they support. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. I still need to go through their white paper. I will be linking this down below for you guys if you want to take a look at their white paper. Let me know if you've already taken a look at this and what you think. But yeah, Token Allies sounds like a really cool idea of how we can bring venture capital money infusions into projects, but still do it in a decentralized way. Okay, cool. I'm caught up on. I'm usually not caught up on comments, so it's kind of surprising that I'm all caught up. Okay, great. So next, wanted to take a look at Lace Wallet. So there's an update from Lace Wallet. Lace Wallet 1.3 just got released. No like mind-blowing new features here, but I was very happy to see that they started adding some of like the smaller things that you would expect from a light wallet these days in the Cardano ecosystem. I'm glad to see that they're taking, these little things do become an aggregate to become more important. And so I'm glad that they're taking these things seriously and adding these things in. So here are the main updates from this release. They finally added ADA handle support, which has not been around for a while, so I'm glad to see that there. They also have support for multi-address wallets. If you've not checked out Lace yet, you can come to lace.io and you can add it to your browser and check it out. And I've been saying this for a long time that I needed to take another look at Lace, so I thought, okay, let's do that and pull it up here. So I connected my Woodland Pools Ledger Nano X. So here is sort of your dashboard. I see a little bit of ADA, some World Mobile tokens, some Sunday. One of our delegators to the ASPEN pool thought it would be funny to mint some Gensler tokens and send me 100 billion Gensler tokens. So, that's that. But anyway, so you can see sort of a nice sort of overview of your NFTs. As you can see, I'm a big fan of Book.io. I have lots of books. But what I wanted to take a look at is a couple of sort of small usability things that I had been asking about for a while that I think is nice that they finally added. The first one that I've been asking for a long time, if you go to your transaction history and you click on your transaction hash, it now opens C Explorer and you can see your transaction details. So credit where credit is due. I said that I would give credit when it happened. Thank you to the Lace Wallet team. I've been asking for this feature since the open beta when we first reviewed this like 6 months ago. Thank you for adding clickable links to the transactions. This makes the wallet so much more usable to be able to get this detail on chain. And then in addition to that, they also added, which I thought was very cool that it's finally there now, ADA handle support. So you can now send without having to know and memorize or copy paste a whole long address. I will say though, one thing I did notice, and I can't help this as a developer, I just came across this. Keep in mind for the Lace Wallet team that ADA handles are all lowercase. And so this right here, it couldn't find it because I typed a capital P by accident. Just do 2 lower because they're always all lowercase anyway. So it shouldn't be, however you type, it shouldn't matter. That should just work. Anyway, sorry, I couldn't help myself. But great work with that. The wallet is really coming along. Really excited to see how this continues advancing. And thank you for taking feedback from the community and continually iterating on this. So if you guys have used Lace Wallet, let me know what you think about it. And if you haven't, come to lace.io and check it out there. All right, so moving on, another project that has recently come across my radar that I wanted to share with you guys. Well, I guess before I continue on, for those of you that are joining us now, let us know where you're joining from and any questions that you have. And one thing that I always forget to say, we're probably about halfway through now. We're going to spend a good amount of time looking at the book stuff at the end for the ITO. If you are enjoying it, give it a thumbs up, share it with people, help the algorithm get this out to more people. So yeah, really, really appreciate that. So continuing on, this project was one I thought was really interesting, Xerberus, a blockchain native risk rating project. So the idea with Xerberus, you can see here in this little summary screen here, that for all of these different coins, there is they're going to give it a Xerberus rating, a risk, an upside potential, and stuff like that. So their idea is that they want to do basically some like machine learning and some algorithmic rankings and ratings. That was the first thing that kind of got my attention about it. And if we look at their white paper, I thought that this this opening here was interesting. Wait, where was it that I? Yeah, here, the problem statement. The decisive impulse for the rise of cryptocurrencies was the devastating effects of the 2008 financial crisis. At the core of this crisis was a systematic failure of rating agencies. The purpose of rating agencies is to create clarity and establish certainty for investors. Understanding the risk is essential to guide decisions. Yet, this institution was complicit in selling substanceless securities into the heart of our economy. Centralized powers allowed them to slide down the slope of questionable incentives, leading us into crisis. So, since 2009, we've witnessed the birth of cryptocurrencies as a way to liberate from the traditional financial systems and their excesses. And of course, you probably know where this is going. Unfortunately, however, the new world of crypto is shown to be a breeding ground for the same kind of malicious behavior. And so now, this is kind of an interesting turn that we've done here in the past few years in crypto. We hear voices demanding to invite the same guardians into our systems that let us down before. It's thought that centralized authorities like governments and rating agencies are needed to determine what is secure and what is risky for us. Xerberus is daring to endeavor to prove them wrong and create a verifiable and decentralized source to understand risk independently, making crypto a place of equal accountability for all participants and have it unleash its true potential. So I think it's a really cool idea of what they're trying to do. We can see here they have all of these graphs on the risk assessment logic and how it's all going to come together. Research markets, things like that. There's another white paper that I need to like really dig into. Apologies that I haven't dug into the white papers for this and Token Allies yet. We've been a bit busy at Book building out the ITO that goes live in 2 days. No pressure. But I want to come back and take a look more deeply at this and the other one too. But let me know if you guys have heard about Xerberus and your thoughts on it. From their roadmap standpoint, I thought this is kind of interesting. If we look at their roadmap, So the pre-alpha stage was the end of last year. The end of Q1 was their alpha stage. So they should be now in the beta stage. And at the tail end of this year, we should see them going to full functional. So, oh yeah, that's another thing I want to show you here in a second. So yeah, so interesting thought about having sort of a decentralized risk analysis. I thought was an interesting concept. And yeah, I want to look into this more. Another thing too was that what sort of first got my attention was just this rating and ranking system. But then I saw this tweet today that was kind of cool. We're silent but working hard behind the scenes. See below a network graph, a research tool to understand relationships in a system. Using this, you can identify wash trading, insider wallets, team dumping, whatever else. I thought this is really cool. How you can kind of see, let me hide this here. You can kind of see here a visual representation between the sort of three of the biggest dexes here, and how you've got, can I zoom in here? I don't know if I can. But how you've got sort of like all these different wallets and where things, all these things going out to different places. But you can sort of see these centralizations of sort of these. For example, these are exchanges. Decentralized exchanges. They're dexes. And then here, for example, these three different wallets receiving a lot of the different funds coming from these things. And so the idea of how you can use sort of this graphical representation to do on-chain forensics and analysis of things going on. My understanding is that they're going to open this up so anybody can use it. So kind of cool how it looks like they are holistically focusing on how to look at things going on chain and do sort of analytics, forensics, risk analysis. Kind of a cool concept. Let me know what you guys think and if you heard about Xerberus. All right, moving on. This next project I had not heard about before, but again, actually, this is one that somebody had shared in the conversations that we were having from the live stream last week. The Cardano timeline I thought was really cool. Let's take a look at this together. I thought this is really neat. Let me move myself up here. So this is kind of cool. Is a visual representation of everything that has happened over the past several years in Cardano. Kind of going from like the very beginning. Here we go. Cool. Oh no, why aren't you letting me scroll here? It was letting me do this before. Let me try this again. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so kind of a cool way to visualize. I thought it was kind of fun way to visualize some of the major milestones that we've been through as an ecosystem. So we see here, for example, done by the main eras, right? So the Byron era, Shelley, Gauguin, Basho, and then getting into Voltaire. But it's kind of, I thought it was kind of a fun sort of like nostalgic trip on like how far we've come. We can see here, let's see if I zoom in a little bit further. Ooh, that got really big, but that's okay. Oh, this actually works out nicely. Okay, so we can see here, this whole green section is Byron. And we can see, for example, in 2018 is when we first had the data list. The first full node wallet came out. The formal specification for Cardano wallets, different evolutions of Ouroboros, the consensus mechanism. August 2018, the Yoroi wallet, the first light wallet. So continuing on here, was the when we transitioned from Byron into Shelley. Project Catalyst was first kicked off on June 24th of 2020. Fund 1 of Project Catalyst kicked off then. The Berry NFT, the first NFT collection to be minted, was on March 1st of 2021. Catalyst Fund 3, 4, 5. CNFT.io. Rest in peace, CNFT.io. The first sort of big marketplace for NFTs on Cardano. Oh, cool. I didn't notice this up here. So here were the different hard forks. The Alonzo hard fork. So the Mary hard fork was native tokens, which gave the ability for us to do NFTs on chain. And that's when Berry came out. The Alonzo hard fork was the introduction of smart contracts. So then after here, you would expect to start seeing the smart contract projects. Very shortly after, in November, was MuesliSwap. We did a video on MuesliSwap right after they launched. Hosky was launched on November 5th. So kind of cool to see sort of the progress of how we've kind of come here. Then once we got into the Basho scaling era, we see Charlie 3 launched in October of 2022. And now all this other stuff that we've got coming up here, Hydra heads and all this stuff as we go into Voltaire. But I thought it was kind of a cool project and kind of a cool way to visualize the Cardano timeline and sort of where we've been and where we're going. So yeah, props to this team. I thought it was really nice. This was for 2022. I'd be interested to see how it builds out for 2023. Okay, Continuing on, updates from World Mobile. So last week or the week before, we were talking about World Mobile and how their plans on how they were going to launch in the United States was different from the approach that they were taking in other countries. How like in third world countries or in developing countries, how they were looking more at putting air nodes, the air nodes like on buildings or hubs or whatever that people can go to be able to connect their phones, and how in the United States they want to do sort of more of like a broad approach where using existing big towers that are in place, using what's called licensed spectrum to do that. So we'll talk about this in a second, but I thought that this was kind of cool. They also just released this today, which is a video showing how they set up their air nodes in a town in Zanzibar, which is where the majority of the deployment is right now. But since we've talked so much about air nodes and earth nodes and ether nodes and all this stuff, just as a reminder, the ether nodes are basically like the main entry point into the country. They're the ones that handle all the legal and regulatory stuff, so that it sort of establishes the legality and ability to be able to operate in that country. Then from there, you've got your earth nodes are the ones that handle all of the traffic in terms of facilitating the calls and people paying in their World Mobile tokens and stuff like that. Earth nodes are going to be run by node operators. Like so for ourselves, we're also going to be running a World Mobile Earth node, and several of the other pool operators that you know in Cardano are planning on running Earth nodes. And then additionally, what you've got then on the ground, which is actually going to propagate the signal for people to be able to connect to, are the air nodes. And the air nodes are going to be more of like individual entrepreneurs can set them up at their shops or inside of like a building or something like that. And so I thought this is a cool, nice little just 2-minute video that shows how an air node is set up and how it's used as sort of like a consolidation point for people to come and connect to. So let's check out this video from World Mobile on their air node in setup in Zanzibar.
Today we're going to be making a couple of installations in Nungwi, and you're going to be seeing us install the air nodes. You'll be able to see all the processes that we go through.
So Nungwi is in the northwest of the island of Unguja in Zanzibar, the utmost tip, probably the furthest point on the island northwards. So for us, our customer base is very generic. We connect from a home or a very small business, like a SMB type business, a little kiosk, or just a stationery shop or barber shop and stuff like that. So we have the wide range from those little businesses to the much larger resorts that will pay for corporate fees, etc. There's hardly much corporate offices in Nungwi. It's mostly either tourist related or residential homes.
There's actually 2 sites that we have set up for today, one of which is an organic spices farm, and the other is a local saloon. They're very high active areas where there's a lot of movement and a lot of traffic.
Typically, connectivity was either via the telcos, via your phone, or you had to pay quite a big chunk of cash to be able to be connected on private fibers or point-to-point connectivities. As with any other part of the island, connectivity is still something that is treated as a luxury item. We are here to make sure that it's just a service that everybody has. So the need is there, the service is available, but it's still not as affordable as it should be. So what we have brought in is that change of paying the exorbitant amounts to paying an affordable amount.
Cool. So what I like about that is that aside from just showing how the air nodes are set up, I really liked how they point out that subtle distinction at the end there where it's interesting because for a long time when we talk about World Mobile, we talked about this notion about connecting the unconnected, and we've always looked at it in terms of reaching people that have no ability to connect at all because of there's just no propagation of signal to there. But an interesting thing that they point out in this video is that somebody who's unconnected is not necessarily just because there's no signal in their area. It could also be because the signal that they have is prohibitively expensive. So I thought that was kind of an interesting distinction that they make, that you want to make it in such a way that you can make the signal reach somebody can get access to it and they can afford to actually use it. So it's really cool to see how in some places their focus is bringing signal propagation where there was none, and then in other places, like in this specific area in Zanzibar, where only the people that have a lot of money could have connectivity, and sort of there's like a luxury thing that they would spend money on, but now sort of democratizing this access and making it that everybody can have access to it, I think is a really, really cool approach. So that is sort of their traditional air node approach. But what I wanted to share with you additionally is that some really big news that came out earlier this week that they've just announced. They're delighted to announce that they've secured licensed spectrum in the United States. And so as a reminder, the difference between licensed and unlicensed spectrum, long story short, licensed spectrum is what you're kind of used to when you, for example, you get your cell phone and you go to some major city and you connect. All the major telephone providers in the whole world, including in the United States, what happens is that there's a band, like a whole band of frequencies that phones can send their signals over, right? And the most highly desirable frequencies of those are licensed. You have to buy chunks of them. And think of them sort of as like, you can think of that range as like one big like plumbing pipe that only has so much capacity to go through. And then people buy different chunks of that range. So in some cities, for example, let's say you have Verizon, the reason why you may have a faster connection in one city versus another, even if like you have full bars, is because potentially the amount of that spectrum that Verizon has in, let's say, Chicago may not be as much throughput as what they have in, let's say, Denver. So that's why you see sort of different kinds of throughput speeds for different providers in different cities. But the most desirable bands to be in to have sort of that high throughput are these licensed spectrum bands. And so and everywhere else World Mobile has been connecting, they've been sort of taking this approach of trying to do off-the-shelf things and sort of like a DIY approach to connectivity. And they've been functioning on unlicensed spectrums, which is sort of the everything else spectrums. And that's very viable, but to get that real speed, at least in the United States, they want to use sort of that licensed spectrum. So they'd announced that was what their plan was. But really big news that they were actually able to secure that licensed spectrum in the United States. And they have this whole long thread here talking about how it's all going to come together. But this is a really big deal, showing that they are able to not just, sort of do sort of their own approach where they're, attaching air nodes to buildings like we see here, but that additionally in developed countries that have pockets and gaps, that they can then tap into these licensed spectrums to get that high throughput, and that you could basically, the idea would be, you can make an account with World Mobile and use them all around the world with different connection mechanisms going on under the hood, but for you, you just keep connecting to them the same way no matter where you go. So that was pretty cool. Sort of a 1-2 punch here from World Mobile about their licensed spectrum stuff in the United States and how they're kind of continuing there, and then this great demo on how they set up air nodes in remote areas around the world. Okay, next. Actually, I had forgotten that I wanted to cover this today, but I want to make sure that to have this on your radar as Project Catalyst opens up. I had tweeted this out. So Martin from @Ada and @Ada2 has become sort of a specialist on hardware wallets. And for those who don't know, the ability to use Ledger to use Cardano in Ledger Live came from a Catalyst-funded proposal that people in the Cardano ecosystem built out in partnership with Ledger. It was the Vacuum Labs team. Martin was involved. Strika team, the ones who do Typhon Wallet and Cardano Scan, did the front end for it. So it's all these teams working together with Project Catalyst funding to make it that you can do integrations of your Ledger with Ledger Live. One of the things that's been missing for a long time in the ecosystem is this, what's called SIP8. So SIP30 is the standard that all light wallets use to connect to sites. But SIP8 is the SIP that's the proposal to make it that your wallet can do what's called signing an arbitrary payload. So let me explain what that means. Okay, so when you make a transaction, right, and you're trying to send a transaction from your hardware wallet, similar to with a software wallet, the transaction gets constructed, then the light wallet, let's say like Lace Wallet or Typhon or Eternal, presents it to you and then has you sign it with your hardware wallet. You're adding your signature to the transaction, and then the transaction is submitted to the blockchain and it works as expected. Now, for some things, you want to, rather, there are cases where you would want to sign an arbitrary payload, not necessarily a transaction to submit, but you want to just sign just something. Think of it like a piece of paper, like as if someone's saying like, hey, this piece of paper, does it belong to you? Can you like, there's a signature on here. Can you sign, and we want to compare these signatures and see like this is actually yours? There's several different use cases why you might want to do something like this. That is to sign a thing and verifiably prove cryptographically that you own it without it being a transaction that actually gets submitted. A perfect example of this that we've talked about a lot on the channel is, for example, if I go to my library here on Book.io, my wallet's connected here, right? Let's see how this loads up here. Yeah. So for example, for all of my books here, if I want to read any of these books, what I need to do is come and click on read. Then I need to sign a payload to show that I own that book, and then I can read it. The problem is that right now, this is not a book limitation. This is actually a Ledger hardware wallet limitation. Right now, with my Ledger hardware wallet, I can't do this signature to prove that it's mine. We can't do this on any apps anywhere in Cardano. And for a while, we've been waiting for Ledger to do this, and Ledger keeps saying, yeah, we'll get to it, yeah, we'll get to it. And then finally, Martin, who did a lot of the low-level stuff for this Ledger integration along the way a while ago, said, you know what? Forget it. It looks like I'm known as a hardware wallet guy in Cardano, and I've gotten lots of DMs asking, hey, when's it going to happen that we can do SIP30 data signing of arbitrary data on hardware wallets, which is this SIP8. And so finally said, okay, you know what? Forget it. I'll just do it. I made a Catalyst proposal. And so for everyone that is voting in Project Catalyst, take a look at this proposal. In my opinion, this deserves a thumbs up. This is going to help lots of projects in the ecosystem, including Book.io and the ability to be able to read your books from your hardware wallet. But there are lots of projects that are waiting on this functionality. Martin is a huge asset to the ecosystem. So yeah, definitely check that out. All right, how are we doing on comments? We're looking good on comments. We're all caught up there. Sweet. So let's continue on then. So big news on Thursday, just 2 days and 15 hours from now, we are having the Book.io ITO. So there were some mints that were going to happen this week. All mints have been pushed. There will not be minting anything this week, and we are fully concentrating on the ITO. So the number one question that people are asking is, what is the token price going to be? The way that the ITO is going to work, let's come and look at this here. Here's how the ITO is going to work. In 2 days and 15 hours, the ITO is going to kick off. There's going to be different stages on how it's going to work. The first people they're going to get access to be able to buy the book token is those who are in the OG book club, which means that you have a Gutenberg Bible. That's going to be a 24-hour window. Once that is done, after that, it's going to be those who have signed up for the whitelist. So if you want the earliest access possible, the best thing you can do is get a Gutenberg Bible. You can find them now on JPEG Store. They're a little expensive these days, but if you're planning on buying a lot of book, it might be worth it. It's up to you. But you can come to JPEG Store and get a Gutenberg Bible. If you have a Gutenberg Bible, you'll be the first to get access to the ITO. If not, if you don't feel like buying it or you don't have one, you can join the whitelist. But keep in mind that for both of these things, the OG Book Club access will only be for that 24-hour window. So make sure that you get your Gutenberg Bible before that. And if you don't do that and you're going the whitelist route, this whitelist is also going to have its own window, and that is going to close. Like once the OG Book Club portion of the ITO kicks off, you'll no longer be able to sign up for the whitelist. So whatever route you're taking, make sure that you're on top of this, and then you get this figured out today or tomorrow. At the very least, sign up for the whitelist, and if not, if you really want the first access, join the OG Book Club and get a Gutenberg Bible. I want to clarify a couple of things about this, though. The OG Book Club is a verification you can do in Discord to have access to, I think, one of the greatest communities in blockchain. A lot of people who are just helping each other out, sharing information, really, really cool group. But that being said, this OG Book Club verification in Discord is separate from what's going to happen to get access to the ITO. So you can, with your Gutenberg Bible, join the OG Book Club. You don't have to. The way it's going to work with your Gutenberg Bible, if you want to get into this sort of OG first release of the tokens, you just need to have it in your wallet. And what's going to happen is when you go to buy your book tokens, we are going to do a verification an on-chain verification as part of the transaction construction to make sure that that Bible is sitting in your wallet. So if you have a Gutenberg Bible or you are going to buy one, all you need to do is just have it in your wallet and you're good to go. Ben tweeted out here, for people that are asking about price, Gutenberg holders will be buying book tokens at less than a penny each. Each stage will not only have the earliest access, but additionally, there's going to be discounts per stage. So that being said, the first that'll get access is OG Book Club. They will also get it at the cheapest rate. Then the whitelist comes next. It'll be slightly more expensive. And then it'll be general access and it'll be slightly more expensive than that. So if you want to get earliest access and the cheapest price, you need to have a Gutenberg Bible. You can get them on JPEG Store. Yeah, so get that figured out. Let's see some comments here. Martin from @Ada is awesome. Also, thanks for sharing Token Allies. I think somehow I missed them until now. Also, oh man, really like your style and knowledge there. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And like I said, I can't wait to chat in person. I'm really looking forward to having a conversation. And also, book is great. Yes, it is. I am a big fan of the Book.io project, and that's why I work there. Awesome project. Best place I've ever worked. Really, really cool team. Awesome vision. Yeah, I love Book.io. So that's how that's going to work. In 2 days and 15 hours, this is going to kick off. If you already have if you're one of the few stragglers who has some Book Classic left, for the old token that was released in 2021, you can come and swap it. At this point, there's no longer a bonus, but there's no utility for Book Classic, so there's no reason to hold on to it. You might as well swap it now. But yeah, let's see. What else did I want to do here? Wanted to show you guys that and how that's going to work. Yes, so the name of the game, if you want to participate in that, is get yourself a Gutenberg Bible. I think we're caught up on questions. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. So we'll wrap it up here, and we'll say, if you appreciate, you know what, let's put Holy Macaroni up here with a nice thing about saying appreciates the style of how we do things here. And if you appreciate the work that we do here and the educational content that we're constantly trying to share about the Cardano ecosystem and blockchain and making it that we can all learn and grow together, the best way you can support the channel is by delegating to the ASPEN stake pool. We appreciate all of our delegators so much. Here's all the different people. And join one of our 1,100 delegators that have joined so far. So this is great. We went through a bunch of stuff today, kind of a speed run in about 47 minutes, 45 minutes. We went through about 10 different projects worth of updates. We will see you guys in a couple of days for the ITO. The book ITO should be a really exciting time. Let me know down below if I've missed anything big that happened this week that I should have covered, or if you have any additional information about any of the projects that we went over. And if nothing else, we'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.